discuss about Victorian age poets and their timeless verse. This lecture is divided into 8 chapters. 1. The Victorian era, a cultural and historical overview, in the rise of Victorian poetry, themes and characteristics. 3. Alfred Lord Tennyson, Poet Laureate of the Victorian Age. 4. Robert Browning and Elizabeth Barrett, Browning, a Literary Romance. 5. Christina Rossetti, Poetry as Devotion and Protest. 6. Gerard Manley, Hopkins, Innovations in Victorian Verse. 7. The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, Artistic Influences on Victorian Poetry. 8. Legacy and Influence, Victorian Poetry in the Modern World.
Chapter 1. The Victorian Era, a cultural and historical overview.
During the Victorian era, spanning from 1837 to 1901, Britain experienced an unparalleled flourishing of poetry that reflected the cultural, social, and political landscapes of the time. This period was marked by rapid industrialization, social reforms, and a fascination with romanticism and morality. Poets of the Victorian age explored these themes through their verses, creating works that continue to resonate with readers today.
Historical and social context.
The Victorian age was characterized by industrialization, urbanization, and imperial expansion. The rapid growth of cities and industries brought about significant social changes, including the rise of the middle class and the working class. At the same time, Britain expanded its colonial empire, exerting influence across the globe.
Cultural and intellectual climate.
Victorian society was marked by a complex interplay of conservatism and progressivism. On one hand, there was a strong emphasis on morality, family values, and social decorum. On the other hand, the era witnessed the emergence of new scientific theories, philosophical movements, and debates on social issues such as poverty, women's rights, and child labor.
Literary trends and influences.
Literature during the Victorian era reflected these societal shifts, while the Romantic movement had laid the foundation for an emphasis on nature, emotion, and individuality. Victorian poets often grappled with more complex themes such as morality, faith, and the changing social order. Poets sought to reconcile the tensions between tradition and innovation, often employing formal structures and intricate symbolism in their works.
Impact of Victorian poetry.
Victorian poetry not only captured the spirit of the age, but also played a crucial role in shaping public opinion and discourse. Poets engaged with contemporary issues through their verse, advocating for social reform, critiquing industrial capitalism, and exploring the complexities of human emotions and relationships. The Victorian era was a time of unparalleled creativity and intellectual ferment in British history.
Chapter 2. The rise of Victorian poetry. Themes and characteristics.
Victorian poetry emerged as a distinct literary movement characterized by its diversity of themes, stylistic innovations, and engagement with the social, political, and cultural issues of the time.
Themes in Victorian poetry.
Victorian poets tackled a wide range of themes, reflecting the complexities of their era. Common themes included nature and romanticism. While rooted in romantic ideals of nature's beauty and its effect on the human spirit, Victorian poets often portrayed nature as a sanctuary amidst the rapid industrialization and urbanization of their time. Morality and social issues. Many poets grappled with questions of morality, duty, and ethics in an increasingly secular society. Issues such as poverty, labor conditions, women's rights, and the impact of scientific advancements were frequent subjects of exploration. Love and loss. Romantic love and its complexities, as well as themes of grief and mourning, were prevalent in Victorian poetry. Poets often used personal experiences and emotions to convey broader social and moral messages. Faith and doubt. The Victorian era saw a tension between traditional religious beliefs and the rise of scientific inquiry and skepticism. Poets like Gerard Manley Hopkins explored religious themes with a deeply personal and spiritual approach.
Characteristics of Victorian poetry.
Victorian poets employed various stylistic techniques and forms, often blending traditional and innovative approaches. Formal structure. Many Victorian poems adhered to strict poetic forms such as the sonnet, ballad, and ode. This formality allowed poets to convey complex ideas within a disciplined framework. Symbolism and allegory. Poets used symbolism and allegory to imbue their works with deeper meaning, often drawing on myths, biblical references, and historical events to convey moral and philosophical insights. Social critique. Through their poetry, Victorian poets critiqued societal norms and injustices, advocating for social reform and challenging the status quo. Lyrical language. Victorian poetry is renowned for its lyrical language and evocative imagery, which captured the sensory experience of the era and the emotional depth of its subjects.
Influence and legacy.
Victorian poetry had a profound influence on subsequent literary movements and continues to resonate with readers today. Poets like Alfred Lord Tennyson, Robert Browning, and Christina Rossetti crafted enduring works that explored the complexities of human experience and the enduring search for meaning in a rapidly changing world.
Chapter 3. Alfred Lord Tennyson, Poet Laureate of the Victorian Age.
Alfred Lord Tennyson stands as one of the most celebrated poets of the Victorian era, renowned for his mastery of language, profound insights into human nature, and evocative verse. Born in 1809 in Somersby, Lincolnshire, Alfred Tennyson showed an early talent for poetry. He attended Trinity College, Cambridge, where he formed lasting friendships with fellow poets such as Arthur Henry Hallam. Tennyson's early works gained recognition for their lyrical beauty and exploration of themes such as nature, mythology, and romantic love.
Major works and themes.
Tennyson's poetry evolved over his career, reflecting the changing social and intellectual landscape of the Victorian era. In Memoriam H.H., perhaps his most famous work, this poem is a profound meditation on grief, loss, and faith, written in memory of his friend Arthur Henry Hallam. The Lady of Shalott, The Charge of the Light Brigade. Tennyson's narrative poems, including The Lady of Shalott and The Charge of the Light Brigade, showcase his mastery of storytelling and his ability to evoke powerful emotions through vivid imagery. Idylls of the King, a series of narrative poems that retell the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, exploring themes of chivalry, honor, and the decline of a noble ideal.
Stylistic innovations.
Tennyson's poetry is characterized by its musicality, exquisite imagery, and keen attention to detail.
He experimented with various poetic forms, including blank verse and the dramatic monologue, to convey the complexities of human experience and emotion. Literary influence and legacy.
As Poet Laureate of the United Kingdom from 1850 until his death in 1892, Tennyson held a prominent position in Victorian society. His works resonated deeply with his contemporaries and continue to inspire poets and readers alike. Tennyson's exploration of universal themes such as love, loss, and the search for meaning ensures his enduring legacy in the literary canon.
Chapter 4. Robert Browning and Elizabeth Barrett Browning, A Literary Romance.
Robert Browning, 1812–1889, was an English poet and playwright known for his dramatic monologues and innovative use of language. His early works, such as Paracelsus and Sordello, received mixed reviews but established his reputation as a poet of considerable talent.
Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, 1806–1861, was one of the most prominent poets of the Victorian era, admired for her lyricism, exploration of social issues and feminist themes.
Her collection, Sonnets from the Portuguese, which includes the famous sonnet beginning "How do I love thee?" "Let me count the ways," remains beloved by readers worldwide.
Literary collaboration and marriage. The love story of Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning began with their literary correspondence, which blossomed into a deep and profound relationship. Against the backdrop of Elizabeth's ill health and her father's disapproval, the couple married in 1846 and eventually settled in Florence, Italy, where they found inspiration for their creative endeavours. Major works.
Robert Browning. His mastery of the dramatic monologue is evident in works such as My Last Duchess, The Bishop Orders His Tomb at St. Praxed's Church, and Fra Lippo Lippi. These poems explore the complexities of human psychology and morality through the voices of their speakers. Elizabeth Barrett Browning. In addition to Sonnets from the Portuguese, Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote powerful narrative poems such as Aurora Leigh, which addresses themes of women's independence, social injustice, and the role of the artist in society.
Influence and legacy.
The Browning's poetry influenced subsequent generations of poets and readers with its emotional depth, innovative use of language, and exploration of human relationships. Their partnership and mutual admiration contributed to their enduring legacy as one of the most beloved literary couples in history. Chapter 5. Christina Rossetti. Poetry as Devotion and Protest. Christina Rossetti is celebrated for her lyrical poetry, which combines themes of spirituality, love, and social commentary. Christina Rossetti, 1830–1894, was born into a literary family in London. Her father, Gabriele Rossetti, was an Italian poet and scholar, and her brothers, Dante Gabriel Rossetti and William Michael Rossetti, were also prominent figures in the arts. Christina's early exposure to literature and art influenced her poetic sensibilities from a young age.
Major themes in Rossetti's poetry.
Rossetti's poetry is characterized by its emotional intensity, religious devotion, and exploration of love and loss. Spiritual and devotional poetry. Many of Rossetti's poems reflect her deep religious faith and contemplation of spiritual matters. Works such as Goblin Market and In the Bleak Midwinter explore Christian themes with a blend of vivid imagery and lyrical language. Love and relationships. Rossetti's exploration of love often intertwines with themes of longing, sacrifice, and the complexities of human emotions. Her poems convey a deep sensitivity to the nuances of romantic and familial relationships. Social commentary. In addition to her personal and spiritual themes, Rossetti engaged with social issues of her time, including women's rights, poverty, and the moral challenges of Victorian society. Her poetry often serves as a subtle critique of societal norms and expectations.
Style and influence.
Rossetti's poetic style is marked by its musicality, symbolism, and attention to detail. She often employs meter and rhyme schemes to enhance the emotional impact of her verse, drawing readers into her lyrical world.
Literary legacy. Christina Rossetti's poetry continues to resonate with readers for its beauty, depth, and timeless themes. Her influence extends to modern poets who admire her ability to fuse the personal and the universal in her poetry. Chapter 6. Gerard Manley Hopkins. Innovations in Victorian Verse.
Gerard Manley Hopkins is celebrated for his experimental verse forms, vivid imagery, and deep spiritual insight. This chapter explores his life, works, and his significant impact on Victorian poetry. Gerard Manley Hopkins, 1844–1889, was born in Stratford, Essex, into a deeply religious Anglican family. He studied classics at Oxford University and later converted to Roman Catholicism, which profoundly influenced his poetry. Hopkins struggled with self-doubt about his poetic abilities during his lifetime, but left a lasting legacy in modern literature.
Innovations in verse.
Hopkins is known for his revolutionary approach to poetry, which he called sprung rhythm and inscape. Sprung rhythm involves the use of stressed syllables in irregular patterns, allowing for a more natural and dynamic flow of verse. Inscape, on the other hand, refers to Hopkins' belief in the uniqueness and individuality of every object or being, which he sought to capture in his poetry through vivid sensory imagery.
Major works. The Wreck of the Deutschland.
Hopkins' longest and perhaps most ambitious poem, which reflects his religious convictions and his struggle with doubt and faith.
Poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins.
A collection posthumously published in 1918, which includes poems such as Pied Beauty, The Windhover, and God's Grandeur. These poems showcase Hopkins' mastery of language, intricate rhythms, and intense spiritual vision.
Influence and legacy.
Despite Hopkins' relatively obscure reputation during his lifetime, his innovative techniques and profound spiritual themes have earned him recognition as one of the most influential poets of the Victorian era. His poetry resonates with readers and poets alike for its blend of religious fervor, linguistic inventiveness, and profound insights into the natural world.
Chapter 7. The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. Artistic influences on Victorian poetry.
The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood was a group of artists and poets who sought to reform Victorian art by rejecting what they saw as the mechanistic approach of the Royal Academy.
Origins and aesthetic principles.
Founded in 1848 by Dante Gabriel Rossetti, William Holman Hunt, and John Everett Millais, the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood aimed to revive the spirit and techniques of medieval art, emphasizing detailed observation, vibrant colors, and a return to nature and spiritual themes. They sought to create art that was sincere, deeply felt, and morally earnest.
Influence on Victorian poetry.
The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood had a profound influence on contemporary poets, who shared their commitment to authenticity, emotional intensity, and a rejection of conventional norms. Symbolism and allegory. Like their artistic counterparts, Pre-Raphaelite poets such as Dante Gabriel Rossetti and Christina Rossetti used symbolism and allegory to explore complex emotional and spiritual themes in their poetry. Nature and beauty. Inspired by the Brotherhood's appreciation for nature's beauty and the medieval love of flora and fauna, poets often depicted natural landscapes and symbolic flowers in their verse. Love and longing. Many Pre-Raphaelite poems explore themes of love, longing, and romantic idealism, often drawing on medieval literature and mythology for inspiration.
Key figures and their works.
Dante Gabriel Rossetti, known for his sensuous and mystical poetry, including works such as The Blessed Damozel and The House of Life, which explore themes of love, loss, and spiritual yearning. Christina Rossetti. Her poetry, such as Goblin Market and the devotional verses in The Prince's Progress and other poems, reflects the Pre-Raphaelite emphasis on vivid imagery and moral allegory.
Legacy and influence.
The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood's fusion of art and poetry left a lasting legacy on Victorian culture and beyond. Their emphasis on emotional sincerity, aesthetic beauty, and a rejection of industrialization's dehumanizing effects paved the way for later artistic movements and continues to inspire poets and artists today. Victorian poetry continues to captivate readers and influence contemporary literature with its profound themes, innovative techniques, and enduring relevance.
Enduring themes and relevance.
Social issues. Poets such as Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Gerard Manley Hopkins addressed social injustices and moral dilemmas, laying the groundwork for later poets who engage with issues of equality, human rights, and environmental concerns.
Enduring themes and relevance.
Love and nature. The romantic and often idealized portrayal of love and nature in Victorian poetry has inspired countless poets to explore the complexities of human emotions and the beauty of the natural world. Spirituality and faith. The religious and spiritual explorations of poets like Alfred Lord Tennyson and Christina Rossetti continue to provoke contemplation and introspection on matters of faith, doubt, and the search for meaning.
Stylistic innovations and techniques.
Victorian poets experimented with form, language, and symbolism, paving the way for modernist and contemporary poets to push the boundaries of poetic expression. Dramatic monologue. Robert Browning's use of the dramatic monologue influenced poets such as T.S. Eliot and Robert Frost, who explored the interior lives of characters through poetic voice. Sprung rhythm and inscape. Gerard Manley. Hopkins' innovative use of rhythm and attention to the uniqueness of each object or being laid the foundation for modernist poets interested in linguistic experimentation and sensory perception.
Influence on literature and culture.
The works of Victorian poets have inspired adaptations, interpretations, and reimaginings across various art forms, including literature, music, and visual arts. Their exploration of universal themes and timeless emotions ensures their relevance and resonance with audiences around the world. In conclusion, Victorian poetry remains a vital and influential force in the literary landscape, offering rich insights into the complexities of human experience and the enduring quest for beauty, truth, and meaning. By examining the lives, works, and contributions of Victorian poets, we gain a deeper appreciation for their impact on literature and their ability to capture the essence of their era while transcending it. As we reflect on their legacy, we recognize Victorian poets as pioneers who continue to inspire and enrich contemporary literature with their timeless verse and enduring spirit.